All right, good morning. In the next day, actually day and a half, you'll start hearing some things being said. You'll start seeing some things posted on social media talking about Monday. Things like this. Grumpy Cat's right, though. 1/7 of your life is spent at work. A lot of your life is spent wherever you spend on your Mondays, work and school. And we find ourselves scheming like this guy, the Grinch, how I feel every Sunday night. I must stop Monday from coming, but how? Monday's coming though, right? Every day, every Sunday, we know that Monday's coming. And we grumble about it, we complain about it, we worry about it, we stress out about it. Sometimes we're excited about it, usually if we have the day off or we're going out of town or something like that. But Mondays can be challenging, and it has this effect on us. We get a case of the Mondays. Well, in this series, we're talking about some Monday matters because every Monday matters. What if it means more than we think it does? What if it's more significant than we think it is? And what if there's a different way to view it, our Mondays, to think about our Mondays, to experience our Mondays? What if we could experience them differently? Well, how you do what you do shapes you. We talked about that last week. If you haven't seen some of the things in this series, we're trying to give you some helpful tools that can reshape your Monday because they really do matter. And last week we talked about how you do what you do on a Monday. Forget about where it is or what you're doing. How you do it really does shape you. It impacts you because if really what estimates say over a course of a lifetime, 90,000 hours or more are spent at work, how you do your work matters. If all the years you spend at school every day going about it the same way, we are what we repeatedly do is what Aristotle said. Your habits shape you, and so what you're doing on a Monday is shaping you. How you do what you do matters. But here's the other thing, and this is what we want to talk about today. How you do what you do on a Monday matters because it shapes you, but it also shapes those around you. So the question we've asked throughout this series, let's start every week by talking about this. Where does Monday morning find you? Where does Monday morning find you? Now, there's really kind of three kind of spheres where we probably find ourselves on a Monday. For most of our life, it's around family. We start off by being placed in families. We're around families. We're around people. And we don't have a lot of choice always about where we're placed. We're there. Later on in life, we get to make some choices about our family, but not all of them. But family is one big category of our life. And then you have this category of friends, the people you choose to be in your life. Or you choose to sign up on that team or be part of that band or go to that extracurricular activity, and those now are the people you're around, and they're friends. Or they're people you're around by your choice or by where you choose to be. But then there's this third category where we spend a majority of our life at either school or work. And a lot of this series we're thinking about through the lens of work, but at the same time, if you're a stay-at-home parent or caretaker, that's important work. Think about that Monday. If you're a student, that's your job. You're showing up and going to work every day you go to school. So as we talk about Mondays, it's important you think about where you are on that Monday, what you're doing, who you're around. But again, we want to think about how we do what we do because it really does shape us. No matter what you do or where you are on a Monday, it matters because the people you work with, the people you go to school with, the people you live with, they matter to God. And you were made to make a difference. You play an important role in the lives of the people around you. Jesus said it this way. We're going to kind of hang out in Matthew chapter 5 this morning. So if you have a Bible, you can turn there. I'll share mine with you on the screen. But in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus makes this statement about your Mondays. About every Monday you'll live. And really, it's not just Mondays. Every Monday matters. Every day matters. And he says this: you are the light of the world. That's who you are on a Monday. No, I'm a student at Hutch. No, you are the light of the world. I'm a teacher at Hutch. No, you're the light of the world. I sell insurance for State Farm. No, you are the light of the world. I'm a stay-at-home mom. No, you're the light of the world. This is who you are. And throughout our life, what we do on a Monday, whether it be a stay-at-home kid to a student, to a college student, maybe grad school, maybe not, maybe trade school, maybe getting a job, our family, whatever we're doing on that Monday, it changes throughout our life What never changes, if you're a follower of Jesus, you are the light of the world. That's who Jesus says that you are. And the takeaway for today, the thing we want to kind of walk away with is this belief that we would all buy into this statement, that we're the light of the world, and that I was made to make a difference wherever Monday finds me. Now, for some of you students, like in a week or so, it'll find you something that's a little bit different than it does tomorrow. Tomorrow, you're the Xbox player of the world, or whatever it is you do on a Monday in the summer. But on your normal, everyday Monday, wherever you find yourself most often on an average day, you were made to make a difference. You might kind of think of it this way. Instead of saying, I am the light of the world, you might say, I am the light of Hutch, junior high, middle school. I'm the light of Covenant Hospital, of Texas Tech University, of 5708 111th Street. I'm the light of wherever Monday finds you. Last week, Mindy Porter interviewed some people after the service, and she said, hey, what was a takeaway for you from this service? And last week she did that with Casey Noble, and we want to share that with you now. And Casey, I'm just now realizing I didn't ask your permission, but is that okay? Thumbs up, all right. Like she could say no. Watch this.
I have really been enjoying our new sermon series, Monday Matters. It hit the perfect timing with heading back to school with teachers. I am fortunate to be an assistant principal in Lubbock ISD, and when teachers come back, they sometimes are mourning their summer, and so I've had the opportunity as a result of my changed attitude and perspective to really try to remain joyful even on Mondays, even when we're tired and exhausted, and even when we're dreading the upcoming week. I consider my industry to be my ministry, and I am thrilled that we get to talk about having joy and perspective and excitement about the students we get to work with, the teachers we get to work with, and just everybody throughout, the parents, all the wonderful people that come into our zone each day. And I'm grateful. I think of John 10:10, and the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. However, Jesus has come to give us life and life to the fullest, but it's up to us to go out and live that life to the fullest. And so I just really have a new perspective on when people come to my office and something's not going right, I have the opportunity to show them that it's okay, even on a Monday, and that we are fortunate to be exactly where we are, and that we get to show Jesus' love to everyone we meet through our attitude of gratitude.
I love that phrase, my industry is my ministry. Yours is too. Wherever Monday finds you, that is the place where you are to be the light of that world. Jesus continued on saying this in Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. And what Jesus is saying is there's this principle of strategic placement. See, we think we are where we are because that's just the family we were born into, or that's the part of the world we were born into, or that's just the place where I was able to get hired, or that's the place where I chose to go to school. I would argue that I think Jesus is saying is you are where you are because he placed you there, and he placed you there with purpose. And sometimes I think our vocation matters, but sometimes we have a preoccupation with vocation and we think, I'm here just to make a living. And what happens is our focus comes on when we show up on Monday. If it's a job, we show up and say, I need to be concerned about what I'm making. Well, that's right, you do. Fair wage is important. That's even in the Bible. Pay the person what they're worth. Like it's there. Or we're focused about the work environment, or opportunities to get ahead, or how I'm treated. All those things matter. But if they become your priority when you show up to work, guess who you're thinking about on Monday morning exclusively? Yourself, and whoever's getting in the way of you and experiencing that. But what if you showed up and say, today, I'm here to earn a living and to have a great place to work. That's what I want. But my biggest prayer is, God, I want to be your light in this world. Some of us have been praying, get me out of here kind of prayers. And it's time we turn those into use me here kind of prayers. God, you have strategically placed me. I'm disguised as a teacher or a principal at LISD. But I'm disguised as a nurse in nursing school. I'm disguised as a student at Cooper Middle School. No. You're there as the light of the world. Jesus continues in verse 16. Just like that city that you can't hide the light and the lamp that you put it strategically where you need light. In the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and give you a big paycheck. No. And they could say, what a great work ethic. I want to promote him. No. Like that, I'd like to see that stuff happen in my life, but so people could look at me and think I'm a great person. No, here's why you do this. And glorify your Father in heaven. When you're the light in your world, you shed light on who God is by how he lives his life in you and through you. Now this summer we did a series called I Am, these I Am statements of Jesus, and one of the statements he made was, I am the light of the world. He's not giving up his responsibility to do that. As a matter of fact, if he doesn't do that, you can't do that and be the light of the world and shine light on him. You need him to be the light of your world before you can be the light in your world. And if Jesus is the light of your world, how could you help but shine? It's kind of going back to the city analogy. Like if there's a city that's lit up in the darkness, you can't hide it. I remember one time I was driving from here to El Paso. Some people have sympathy for me in this moment, like that's a rough drive. And what I did not know is that I think after Carlsbad, there's no other gas stations. I remember passing a gas station and thinking, I'll stop at the next one. There wasn't a next one. And it's the middle of the night, and it's dark. And I'm running out of gas. And I'm having images of being carried away and all these things of what's going to happen and coyotes. And I'm just like, what am I going to do if I run out of gas in the middle of nowhere? I have never been more so thankful, never been more thankful to see lights kind of off in the distance of El Paso. I've never been, I don't know if anyone's uttered these words before. I've never been so grateful to see El Paso before. I'm sorry if you're from El Paso, I apologize. Mark told me to say that, the executive pastor. He wrote that joke. I told him it was a bad idea. But here's the thing. I see the lights and I'm thinking, oh good, I'm there. No, I wasn't. It was a long way off. But it was so dark, the light shines so bright. That's true in your world. Some people right now are praying for light. They're praying for you to show up and be the light in the world. They're just not praying for you by name. They're just praying for hope and help. And right now, you're going to be the light. And the darker your world, the brighter your light shines. In fact, I know somewhere along the way in Carlsbad, like there's like caves you can go down into, right? And somebody was telling me they went down into these caves, and I was like, on purpose? Like, it sounds like a fun thing, but I'm like, for me, it never dawns on me, hey, we should go hang out in a cave. Like, anyway, but they went. And they said, down in the cave, there's this spot where it gets really dark and they have everyone turn off the lights. And then they turn on this one little watch light and it feels so bright. Because the darker it is, the brighter the light shines. And some people have been praying, get me out of here kind of prayers, but really what God is going to answer their prayer by saying is, I'm not going to get you out of there. I'm going to send someone into your world, strategically disguised as a substitute teacher. A salesperson, a mom, an accountant, and you're placed there to play a role and contribute to your workplace, but you're also there to contribute light. Where does your world need light right now? And how could you turn your prayers from a get me out of here to a use me here? And it starts by letting Jesus be the light of your world, because if he's shining in you, how could you help but be light? And then Jesus sums it up and gives us a clear and concise way to think about this. He says this several verses later in verse 41. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. What he says is how you do what you do matters. And at the time, this is kind of lost on us. This isn't like, okay, well, I'm not in PE anymore. Give me a lap, give me a mile. No, I'll give you 2, coach. It's talking about that. It's talking about what was happening that time where being in occupied Roman territory, if a Roman soldier came up and said, I need you to carry my pack for 1 mile, the only proper response was, okay. And do it with a smile. But you didn't enjoy it. And when you got to a mile, you were counting, you knew when it was, and I'm done. But instead, Jesus says, hey, when you do that, and you get to the 1 mile and you throw the pack down and thought, I'm done. Say, is it okay if I could just go an extra mile with you? And we even hear this phrase used in the service industry of second mile service or going the extra mile in service, in customer service. That's not a customer service idea. Disney didn't come up with that about how they treat guests. Jesus said this. And he said, this isn't about your job. This is about who you are as being the light of the world. Go the extra mile where people will say, why are you doing this? What's different about you? We should be noticeably different by going the extra mile, of doing more than is expected. How we do what we do matters. And if we want people to pay attention to our faith, we need to first pay attention to how we do our work, how we do our chores at home, how we do our homework, how we do whatever it is we don't want to do, but, well, I've got to do at least this to keep my job or to get my allowance or whatever it is. What would it look like for you to go the extra mile? And do it with an attitude of saying, I'm here to serve because I care about you and you matter. See, I really think as Christ followers, we should be the best employees, the best students, the best bosses, the best teachers, the best coaches, the best parents, the best of everything, not in terms of saying, look at us, we're better, but saying, we're going to give as much as we humanly can, and we're going to go even further because we have the God of the universe living in us and through us. We have an endless reserve of what we can offer as far as light to this world. So I'm going to do my job. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to raise these kids. Wherever I show up, I'm going to go the extra mile. And then I think he expects people are kind of pushing back on him. So he says this. He goes, you've heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He goes, I admit, that soldier that's asking you to carry that backpack, that boss that's really hard to work for, that coworker that really just kind of drives you crazy, that person in your class that kind of rubs you the wrong way, all that stuff you deal with, I admit there's worlds full of people like that. Guess what? They matter too. And your enemies, to go the extra mile would be to say, I will forgive you because I've been forgiven much by my Heavenly Father. You want to know what your to-do list tomorrow is? Love and pray for the people you're around on a Monday. The way you're light is you love and pray for the people around you. All people, always. Especially the ones you're thinking, I don't want to pray for them, or I'm praying for them, but smite them. Like, I want God, do something. Or get me out of here. No. What if you said, God, use me here to love them and be light? And he says that you may live as children of your Father in heaven. You're most living like your Father would live if you're forgiving and loving and going that extra mile. Verse 46, he goes on to say this, if you love those who love you, what reward will you get? What reward will you get? Are not even tax collectors doing that? It's easy to love my friends. It's harder to love my enemies, but like we said last week, that may be the best indicator of how God is changing my life, is where I show up and it's difficult. It's the greatest indicator of how God is changing my life, but also the greatest opportunity to lean into it and say, God, I clearly have a lot of room to grow here. I want to use this as an opportunity to love others, to pray for those who it's hard for me to pray for, and to be light. This is difficult. I need you. And that's where he might grow you the most. And if you only greet your own people, what are you doing more than others? Not even pagans do that. Be different, be less like the world and more like Jesus. What would it look like if we stopped taking our cue from others and started taking our cues from Jesus of saying, this is what it looks like to live? Instead of looking on Facebook and saying, what are people saying? How are people speaking to each other? That's what I'll do. No, don't take your cues from the world. Be the light of the world. And the worse the place is, the more difficult the place is, the brighter your light will shine. So many of us, have seen this last week, the quote from Martin Luther King, talking about a very relevant quote. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Guess what? That's not coming from Martin Luther King. It came from the person that he followed, Jesus, who said, be the light of the world. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. This is not a new idea. This is a God idea that he believed in a difficult place. It was to believe that. Jesus actually gives us a very practical, simple way to do it. So simple you might even overlook it. But think about your Monday in mind. Again, think about where you are on a normal Monday. You got that in mind? It's not like I'm doing a magic trick, but I want you to apply it. Like, think about that. Okay, think about what you're on a normal Monday. Think about who you're around, what you're doing, how you do it, that kind of thing. And Jesus says, here's a practical way to be light in the world. It's very simple. Matthew 7:12. So in everything, whatever you do, wherever Monday finds you, do to others what you would have them do to you. So we call it the golden rule. Did you know that almost every faith tradition has a version of the golden rule? And some people say, well, that must be clear that, the Bible's borrowing from somebody else. Yeah, I think they are, from our Creator. And that truth is hardwired into every single one of us by our Creator. So it shouldn't surprise us that other people in the world go, you know what, the world would be a lot better. It just feels like the right thing to do is to treat people the way I want to be treated. Yeah, because God said, that's how I made you. So go do that. But that's hard to do because what we do is I treat people the way they treat me. Jesus says, no. Go the extra mile. Don't treat them the way you're treated. Treat them the way you would want to be treated. Treat them the way you would want your kid to be treated. You could flip this verse around and maybe kind of personalize it. Whatever you do on a Monday, kind of phrase it this way. Teach to others the way you would want them to teach to you. Or go to school with others the way you'd want them to go to school with you. But what if they don't do that? Well, then you're in the right place, aren't you? Because light goes in dark places. Speak to others the way you would want people to speak to you. This will be difficult for some of us. Sell to others the way you would want them to sell to you. Going the extra mile sometimes is difficult. Lead others the way you would want to be led. Manage others the way you would want to be managed. Supervise others the way you would want to be supervised. Work with others the way you want to be worked with. Work for others the way you would want to be worked for. Sell to others, talk to others, serve to others, all these things. However you need to personalize that, what does it look like to do that in your world? That's a very practical expression of what it looks like to be light in your world. To take your cues from Jesus rather than from others. This is how you be the light at home, at work, with friends, at school. See, this is what we were created to do. We've said it throughout the series. You were created. Genesis 2, you can read it. You were created to make a contribution to the world. This is how you do that. And we spend a lot more time focusing on what am I going to do for a living? That matters. God cares about that. But what he cares about most is how you do what you do each and every day. Because most of us can think of somebody we worked with, or we worked for, or worked for us, or raised us. And it wasn't good. Some of us have painful memories of how people treated us. Some people have specific names in mind of people it's hard to forgive for what they did to me. They cheated our business and cost us our company. Yeah, that's a hard person to forgive. But Jesus says, don't hang on to that. Personally, it does you no good. But you are most like me when you choose to forgive. Jesus said it this way, you are the light of the world. And what we need to believe about us is I was made to make a difference wherever Monday finds me. So let me ask you again, where does Monday find you? And I want you to specifically think about the names of who's around you. And if you're in some kind of business where you're doing something and serving others, think about the people you serve. Think about the people you teach. Think about the people you sell to. Think about the kids you raise. Think about the siblings that are in your house. Think about what's going on your Monday and understand the great responsibility that's been put in your hands of God says, today someone's going to come buy something from you and they matter a whole lot to me. And you think that they're there to purchase a widget or whatever it is you sell. You think that they're there to buy a Slurpee, whatever it is like you do. Like, I wish there was somebody that sold Slurpees here. I've told Mark for years, we need to get a Slurpee machine here at Live Oak. Like you think they're just here to buy a Slurpee from you. No. They're there today because right now what's going on in their world is rough and they need someone just look them in the eye and say, you matter. I'm going to treat you like you matter. Or today, someone's going to walk in and they're going to belittle you. Mark and I were traveling this last week and Monday was a rough travel day. And we saw a lot of gate agents for us, Southwest Airlines. And as we were sitting there waiting for our flights, it's amazing some of the things people said to them. I couldn't believe Mark said it. It was awful. I'm just kidding. Like we would sit there, and so much so that it affected us. When we would find our turn up there, we'd say, hey, you're doing a great job. Because we just couldn't believe what was being said. And I think it's this Monday Matters had it on our radar. And instead of thinking, I got to get from point A to point B, instead of going point A to B, C, D, and E, and then I'm getting to point B eventually, like, this person matters to God. And maybe their biggest problem right now isn't a delayed flight that they're trying to manage. It's that they got a kid at home that they don't know what to do. Or someone is carrying around a grudge and they just can't forgive others, and they need to see what forgiveness looks like and modeled in the flesh. See, we don't know everybody's story. But that's why God put you there. Learn their story. Learn what's going on in their world, and be a light in their world. The people you work with matter so much that God put you there to make a difference, to value people, and to be the light of the world. That's why you are where you are. So where does Monday find you? We think that's a pretty important message, and that's why in this series we're asking you to kind of share this through social media. If you're not on social media, tell somebody about it. Do something to make this message kind of get out there. We want people to think about Mondays differently, because Mondays matter because people matter. Because God says people matter. All people matter. So what we'd like you to do is, if you're on Facebook, check in and make this your status. I was made to make a difference wherever Monday finds me. Do that to share the message, but do this to hold yourself accountable. Because some of us just need someone to ask, hey, are you living today as the light of the world? Because that's who Jesus says you are. Your business card may say that. Your transcript may not say that. Your job title doesn't kind of show up that on HR. But you are the light of the world. And as your job title changes, as your roles in life change, whatever circle you find yourself in, this is always our role as followers of Jesus. He's entrusted us with a lot. So anyway, what we'd like you to do is check in like this. And if you do that, if you check in with the status, or if you share anything that we're doing this week on social media, go by, there's a table outside with these mugs that say Monday Matters. It's just a way to say thanks, and also to put a tangible reminder in your world to remind you that every Monday matters, and you can pick that up when you leave. Just show them kind of how you shared it. Also, if you're a guest, a first-time guest here before, we won't make you do that. Just stop by and pick one up too. We're glad you're here. Or if you brought a first-time guest, you can get one too. But we want to put that in your hands. The other thing I want to say is this. Tammy talked a little bit about giving at Live Oak and why it makes a difference. And today, it's very tangible to me. I got here this morning, and Mark, our executive pastor, said, hey, we got a couple thank you notes in the mail. And it was addressed to us, but really it was addressed to you. And so I wanted to pass that on, that Kingdom Come Ministries, we were able to help them buy 100 uniforms for kids going back to school that couldn't afford it. And with Cooper West, they have a thing called the Pirate Pantry, where they can have some easy-to-prepare meals for kids when they go home on the weekend or every day, where they can just come in whenever they need it and get something. And because you guys were very generous this last year, we were able to participate with them in these needs when they came up. And those aren't the only ones we're able to participate in this last year. I can't tell you how grateful I am, because that's part of being the light of the world, is there's a need and I think I can help. Well, we could say yes because you said yes, and so your giving matters. It matters to being able to make a difference in the world, but here's the thing I also know about giving. How you do what you do matters. If you give, Paul said it to us in 1 Corinthians, if you give with a hard heart, if you're not a cheerful giver, don't give. Don't give. Find another way to get your tax write-off or whatever it is. But if you want to hold your resources with an open hand and say, God, everything I have is from you, what would you have me do? And I will cheerfully be part of it. That's when we participate. And so many of you did this last year, and I can't help but say thank you. And one of the phrases, one of the thank you notes said is, you guys are a blessing to be a neighbor. And as we're starting a year, this is kind of starting a new ministry year for us right now, one of our goals this year is we want to be great neighbors to the people around us. Personally, where we live, where we work, because Mondays matter, but also there's a school there, there's a storage unit, there's a gym that just went in, there are houses that have been built around us. We want to be good neighbors. We want people to think at Live Oak and go, I'm glad they're here. We want people to live next to you and go, I'm glad they're my neighbor. They care, they love, they pray for. We want to be good neighbors. So thanks for helping us be a good neighbor to Cooper West Elementary School. Let's stand for closing prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you that you are the light of the world. We are not self-powered lights. We don't have to do this on our own. We do this because of the light you shine in our lives. Thanks that we are given this ultimate responsibility of being the light to the world, to the people that matter so much to you. Some people, they're hard to forgive, they're hard to pray for, they're hard to love. Sometimes we're those people. Thanks that you love us and forgive us much. And when we reflect on how much you have sacrificed and given to us, as we celebrate communion today, we are grateful. We're thankful that you've been the light to our world, and we now live as children of the light, children of the Most High God. And God, as we leave here, I pray you would use us to be the light in our world. And if we're all alone, I pray we'd find some other people that could join us in that, where we find ourselves on a Monday, to be light. But if we're all alone, remind us that you promised us that you are with us always. And we need you to shine your light in us so we can shine our light to our world. You made us to make a difference. Help us to live that purpose out tomorrow, wherever Monday finds us. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thanks for being here. If you'd like to talk, I'll be down at the front. Hey, and by the way, don't be late I know some of you attend the 9:35 service. Don't be late next week. You're going to really want to experience the opening of the next service. It's going to be great. And there is a mascara alert on that for parents.